So what is IP? Primarily, IP is the creation of the mind that can be protected by laws of certain countries. Maybe a good example is handphones. Everyone has a smartphone nowadays, and people do not know that actually in a smartphone you can find approximately 25,000 IP rights that play together in one product, and they come in the form of like copyrights, trademark, design, and patents all in one. So, for example, you can find copyrights in the software that is actually within the devices. You can find the trademarks about the brands that actually produce them. You can find it in design rights that actually look at the shape of the handphone and the smartphone. And of course, the patents that protect various things, technical things, within the handphone, like in the microchips or other things. Let's look at the concept of intellectual property and the why, what, and how. The why actually looks mainly into things that actually protect the creator of it, like moral rights or commercial rights. It also helps to promote like creativity, because if you protect it, there is maybe more willingness to come up with more ideas. The what speaks more of the creation of the mind itself, so that's actually what is created, like inventions, for example, Panadol when it was invented, literary and artistic works, that speaks like to books, films, stuff like that. Symbols and names, that is actually things that you can find like in trademarks, businesses actually. And of course designs used in commerce. These are things which actually you can see like for your handphone or your laptop or your computer or whatsoever. How is it actually protected? There is a few legal rights that are in place to do so. So in the case of inventions, it would be a patent. In the case of literary and artistic works, it would be copyright. In the case of symbols, it would be trademark. And in the design, as I just explained, it would be design rights. And there's actually a way to look into it if you would like to have more details about it. There's an organization called the World Intellectual Property Organization, or short WIPO. They have actually a website that you can look it up, because WIPO is the body in the UN that actually tries to harmonize intellectual property laws across the world. So they're always a good reference for this kind of things. Intellectual property is at the same time also an asset. An asset in terms of it has commercial value. So every business basically has and owns intellectual property. Some just don't know about it. And with every asset you can actually buy, sell, mortgage, license it. And if you go to a bank, for example, if you want a loan because you're starting up a business and you have IP that is protected, you can actually get something in return for that. And looking at a few examples that actually just give you a bit of an idea how far it can get, I would start with the most valuable patent that was actually valued in 2009. Is actually for a drug produced by Pfizer. It's called Lipitor. And that patent only was valued at $105 billion US. So you can see that this is a very huge number, and it's just one patent. And of course, you could also look at who owns most of the patents, because some people just make a business out of it, licensing their patents to the world. So the number one patent owner is IBM. So probably everyone knows this company. They actually have in 2012 owned a number of 67,000 patents that are active. And they just added in 2012 alone 6,500 patents new to their portfolio. So IBM makes a lot of money from licensing this out to their customers. And as you see, I mean, if you have these things and you are very creative, you can make a business from that. On the other hand, it's not just patents. There's also things like trademarks that can be very valuable. For example, Coca-Cola, a very well-known brand, just the name Coca-Cola itself was valued in 2011 almost $80 billion US. So if you want to own this name only, doesn't speak to production or other things, you have to put $80 billion on the table. The first thing I would like to talk about is copyright. It's probably one of the most easiest ones, and it protects artistic and aesthetic works of authors and artists. And what happens if, for example, people do not really comply with that? In the US, from piracy, where people, let's say, copy music, films, books, they estimate it to about $12.5 billion every year that is lost because people to just not pay their license fees or buy it from the proper sources. So copyright is something that everyone can do, and it could be very powerful. On the other hand, there is a group that is called industrial property rights. These are rights usually that have to be registered. And there are three main ones: trademarks, designs, and patents. Trademarks actually protect the brand. They distinguish businesses, products, and services from each other. And violation to it is something that you might have seen maybe before, if, for example, a name is very much related to a very known brand. Examples could be like someone calls his business Hike instead of Nike, Starbucks instead of Starbucks, or Pizza Hut instead of Pizza Hut. The next right is design rights. Design right protects the shape and appearance of a product. So if you have a phone like a Samsung or a Sony phone or an Apple phone, the way actually these products are shaped is usually protected by design rights, because it helps distinguishing them from their competitors. And then the third right, which is probably the most complicated, is patents. And patents grant its owner a monopoly over a technical invention. And a good example, there is a Coca-Cola can, the metal cans with the ring pull on top. If you actually just consider the inventor of that ring pull, he patented his idea, and he actually licensed it to Coca-Cola, and he made $0.0006 per can, which is a very small amount of money, but it gave him actually 90 million every year until Coca-Cola came up with something different. Another right, which is always very much close to all these, is what we call confidential information or trade secrets. And that could be commercial or technical information. And again, if I may use the Coca-Cola brand, the formula of the drink itself has been kept secret for many years. I think now it's meanwhile more than 100 years. And as long as they do, they are protected. If you want to find out more about Takamul, you can visit our webpage, takamul.gov.ae, or send us an email, takamul@tdc.gov.ae.